So you turn 18. You've decided your course of action, which is just lay low.
Yeah.
Did you just kind of? I mean, what was your plan of action?
Well, I right after high school, I told my dad before I turned 18. I said I want to go spend the summer up at the Jade camp with that family that went up to the mountains in Northern California, Mendocino County, to meet Jade up there. And basically, all they did was camp out and roll up the rocks,
right,
all summer long.
And you were talking about how super remote those areas were.
Yeah, it took, I can't remember how long it took. It seemed like forever, but it was probably like an hour to drive into town.
Wow, on little dirt roads and stuff.
Gravel road, yeah.
How many, and you'd be out for like a week or something at a time?
Yeah.
Prospecting?
Yeah, we'd be up there for a week and then go in to get supplies and do laundry and head back up there again.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. I loved it. It was great. And I didn't get paid. I didn't care.
Really?
Oh yeah, I didn't care.
You just helped them out?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I liked them. They're bohemian types. Camping out all summer, I mean, who does that?
Right.
Wow. They had this four-wheel drive pickup. They had to go down this steep hill, ford a river in their pickup, and then up the other side with everything that they were going to have to camp with for the summer.
Huh.
They would go up there and they built this little camp, and it was a beautiful little place.
Huh.
And I met them and I just thought, wow, these people are really cool.
Wow.
They don't work a regular job. He doesn't commute anywhere. He's just got his, stays home with his family. Cuts his jade all day long. Gets orders for it through the mail, and then he packages it up and mails it away. And then in the summertime, they go camp out all the summer long in the woods.
Wow.
These guys are all right.
Yeah, so almost like an internship for rockhounds.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Huh.
Yeah, and that whole interest in that has stayed with me my whole life.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Huh.
Plus, my dad's father was a prospector for years and years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Grandpa Hoag the fourth?
He was
the third.
Third.
Wow.
Yeah. After he raised his kids, he was a farmer for decades and decades, and I guess there wasn't any kind of big open friction between him and his wife, but as soon as the kids were out of the house.
Wow.
No more farming.
Yeah.
And see, when you were real young, like maybe 2, we went and visited my grandfather in near Death Valley.
Yeah.
And he had his school bus there. He lived out of his school bus for years and years and years.
Yeah.
He just traveled around. He had a Jeep that he towed with it.
Yeah.
He'd go prospecting all over the place. And that was what he did. They had hot springs there, and he liked those.
Yeah. So what? And you kind of ended up traveling around and having these various adventures, and then getting caught up with kind of political groups.
Yeah.
Were you a part of SDS, or
no?
Just knew those guys kind of?
I didn't really know them.
Because were they like, I know they were kind of Seattle, or I guess they were West Coast, weren't they?
I don't really know.
Huh.
Because I kind of read about them. Because I'd read like the Berkeley Barb and stuff like that. Plus the people that I was with, the kind of loose-knit family that I got involved with, they had like commune houses in Marin County, north of San Francisco, in San Francisco, in Oakland, in Mendocino County, and also up at Black Bear and Siskiyou.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to just all around all those places, and they all knew me, and I'd stay there for a while, and I'd bake bread.
And then how do the Diggers fit into that family?
Well, that was kind of the Digger family.
Okay.
They kind of generated out of Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, and they'd all kind of been there for a while, as a kernel kind of group, and then more people came into it, and more people kind of donated into it, and then they bought land, and so then they splintered off. And I was a lot younger than most of them.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most of them were much more adult than me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had much more history, seminal history in San Francisco before the Summer of Love in 1967.
Okay.
So they were, and I was in high school then. I was just really a kid.
Right. Right.
You know, these people were kind of living and doing stuff and out on the streets and doing street theater.
Must have been electrifying though for you at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole community of people doing all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
That perfectly ties into.
I was doing my draft evader stuff out hitchhiking, and this people pull up in an old army truck and pick me up. You know, that are the real thing from Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, and they talked to me for a while, and I was in. You know, I was part of their group.
Right. Wow.
And I went around to all their bases. You know, their communes. All of them. Because they'd say, well, you know what, if you got to go, you got to go, but be sure and visit, you know, this people that, you know, when you're down in San Rafael. So I'd go there and they'd go, oh yeah. You know, they had a whole setup, you know, they did their, you know, for cooking and the whole house and all these couples and kids. And, and I'd just go in there and I'd say, well, I'm going to bake bread while I'm here. Is that okay? And they'd go,
so similar to Black Bear, similar kind of situations all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Only some of them were urban, you know, and some of them were, you know, out in the sticks.
And then, who were the Yippies, and how did they fit into that time of your life?
That was more of an East Coast Abby Hoffman kind of thing.
Right.
And so, you know, they weren't any of us.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought that was a big presence at that time as well.
It was, but you know, we were just.
But they had like this allegiance to an East Coast kind of based ideology or something.
Yeah, because that's where Abby Hoffman was from.
Right.
I mean, he ended up being, you know, a big crusader for the Hudson River and all that stuff in New York, and you know, was in Chicago, and I was never in any of those places.
Right.
You know, and they made national headlines. You know, were a real national presence. But and we were just kind of like, well, I don't know what we were. We weren't making a name for ourselves.
Right.
You know, the Diggers were kind of counterculture, doing stuff in San Francisco, West Coast. I don't think they ever really got a big national presence. And because they were counterculture, they didn't care.
Right.
If they got a national, if they were in the press, you know, if they got a name, and it's established, and let's have a news conference.
The whole like dropping dollars in the New York Stock Exchange kind of thing.
No.
Yeah.